I have a special guest who will be joining us, and we're going to be talking about planning for our futures in a very practical and applicable way that all of us should think about. We are going to be talking about long-term care. And I am really excited to welcome our guest this morning, Vickie Frazier-Williams. She is joining us from South Florida. Vickie, thank you so much for being here on Keeping It Real Caregiving for round two.
I enjoy being here. Thanks for inviting me.
And for those of you who perhaps did not see one of our first interactions, Vickie Frazier-Williams is a financial coach helping all of us plan for the future. But you say you're also a legacy coach, which I love how that sounds. Explain to our Keeping It Real Caregiving family exactly what that means and why it's so important.
Legacy. A lot of times we are not thinking about the fact that we are leaving a legacy when we leave here. And you can either do it on purpose or by accident. And I like being able to talk to people about leaving a legacy that matters and doing it on purpose. And what that calls for, Julia, is being prepared and having a plan and looking into the future as to, we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what's going to happen. But one way to deal with whatever happens is to think about it ahead of time and put some plans, some strategies in place. And so that's what legacy for me, coaching is for me.
And I have to tell you, folks, Vickie has been wonderful. In full disclosure, I have worked with her in the past as on-air reporters, but we've also worked together recently because I made the decision that I wanted to make sure that I put long-term care insurance in place. This is something that I've talked about for months. And Vickie helped me navigate those waters, figure out what I needed. So let's talk a little bit about that. Long-term care. We hear those letters. Why is this so crucial in terms of protecting our future for our care and also our finances?
Julia, we are living longer than ever before. It's a probability that a lot of us will live longer. And in that life, it's almost inevitable that the longer we live, the more real it will be that we will need some help. There is a possibility, a probability that we will need some kind of long-term extended care help. And the question needs to be asked while you're young, healthy, right? Who will be there for me should I need help in the future? And that's what long-term care conversations allow us to talk about is who is your who? If you are not able to take care of yourself, who are you going to lean to? And I don't let my clients skip out of that question. I had someone tell me just a couple of days ago, you're just not going to let me not answer that, are you? I said, no, because think about it. You got to decide who is there for you. And I'm so proud of you, frankly, that we went through some time of figuring out, what does that care look like? What does it need to cover? How long does it need to cover? And what's it going to cost? Those are all the questions, that you, of course, made sure you got answered to your satisfaction before we closed any kind of policy.
And that's one of the things that I can't stress enough to our viewers, that planning ahead. And I want to share with everybody, you were kind enough to share some information that we talk about this idea that it's a tough topic because nobody wants to think about it, but we are living longer. And that means we don't just age and then retire and sit and watch television. You've heard me say it before, we get older and then things decline. We get older and maybe we can't do. We get older, but we keep living. Who is there to help us? And that's where this comes in, as you say on your slide here, having a strategy for long-term care is a necessity and it gives you added peace of mind. And for those of you who are already family caregivers or looking at family caregiving, and Vickie, you've been in this, we can think about the loved ones that we're helping, but I really want people to start thinking about us, right? Because once our loved ones pass, we're the next in line, right? That means we have to think of all of the issues and roadblocks and challenges we've experienced, what will that look like for us? And if you could talk a little bit again about the necessity or the importance, especially for women, women of color,
Mhm.
and for those who don't have children. This is crucial that we think about all of this.
It's interesting that that was the last part of of your question. Those of us who don't have children. Honestly, Julia, yes, I went through it with my mom and dad. Both of them needed care before they relocated to heaven. And it was after that time that and it was actually my husband who said, you know what, Vickie, we don't have children like mom and dad did to come in and take care of us if we needed that help. So what are we going to do? And in all honesty, that is when we took out coverage. Women, we tend to live longer than men. And what happens is many times we become that caretaker for our
Mhm.
husbands, for our mom, for our dad, for family, other family members. The vast majority of caregiving is actually taken up by a family member. But if we plan for what might be an inevitable occurrence, then we have some choice. Right now, you have a choice as to whether or not planning out, you
Mhm.
have to have some care, whether you're going to go into a nursing home or you're going to have that care at home. You have options now, right? While you can strategize and decide on how you want that, not only retirement, but that time where you might need some care, what you want that to look like. You have some control now. And I think that is the thing that I try to get across to everybody. Make some decisions now. You said it, we don't want to think about that.
No,
We
it's
just
tough.
don't. But inevitably, we will have to, and we will be living through that. So plan now, strategize now.
And some of the ways we do that, and I love that you walk everybody through it. And for those of you joining us, Vickie walked me through this as well, of really thinking about what is our personal plan. And I do want everybody to consider that this will cost you something, right? We have to purchase this, but think about how much money we spend on our cars and on our lawns and on things that come and go in our lives. And this is really about our future, who is caring for us as we age. And I love that you chart this out so that we ask these questions of ourselves and then we can get answers. So these 4 questions, how crucial are these for everybody to really think about?
Critical, crucial, important, and tough, right? Because it makes you get real with you. Who would be in charge of your care should something happen to you?
Mhm.
Where would you prefer to receive that care? At home, in a nursing home? How much does that care cost? And Julia, you just said there is a cost to it, right? I always like to tell people there's also a cost to waiting, though, because the older we get, you have to get approved. You have to be allowed to have this coverage, and it's dependent upon your health now and your cognition, your cognitive ability. So the younger we are, the healthier we are, that we put this coverage in place, the better it is for us, and the cost is
Mhm.
less. And then lastly, what's the best solution for you and your family? Those are decisions, those are questions, answers that need to be dealt with up front.
And one of the things too that I would encourage everybody to do is, we talked about this of thinking about who else in your circle and thinking about how you're going to pay for this. And a lot of people hear long-term care insurance and they think, oh, this is just some sort of sham. It's not going to be valuable for me. How have policies changed over the years so that we, the consumers, do have more control over where we have that care and how we are able to choose the care?
Great question. There was a time when you could get unlimited long term care coverage, meaning it would cover you for the rest of your life. That has changed. The vast majority of those companies are not even in business anymore because people are living longer, almost outliving those coverages. So that has changed. One of the ways that you can do this now, a couple of ways. One, you can pay as you go. right? You can say, I'm going to put X amount of dollars every month into this policy that allows me at some point, should I need it, to have benefits, daily benefits, be it at home or in a nursing home. That's a critical second part of that. And then there are some which you can put a lump sum of money down in which you pay it off right up front. And there's a life insurance benefit to that as well. And so those of us like myself who doesn't have any children, right? I'm not so concerned about the death benefit. I am concerned about having enough of a bigger pot of money for that care. And by the way, Julia, let me say this too. Sometimes people, we think about long-term care being something that happens in our old age, but you can have an extended care event that has nothing to do, frankly, with your age, where you need someone to come in and care for you, or you may have to go into a facility. And what's happening around the country actually is people are looking at, states are looking at how if you don't have this outside coverage, there could come a time where it will be taken out of your paycheck, much like Social Security, in order for you to have some coverage should that happen later in life.
Yeah, and those are all such good points to think about. And again, I just want to stress that this is not a free service. You do have to purchase this. And so one of the things that I think people should understand is that not everybody would be able to afford this. But for those who can, what advice would you say to them? If you have the means, what would you say to people?
Look for a good counsel person, someone who can really guide you through it, who understands what's happening out in the community as it relates to long-term care, what are some options and some strategies, not only for you to get the coverage, but also how to pay for it. It is extremely important, the advisor you get and the company you get. Remember, these are long-term coverage policy. So you want them to be around. In many cases, you might not need this coverage until your 70s, 80s, and later, right? So you have to pay attention to one, your advisor, and two, the company that you're working with, because all of this coverage is primarily based on the claims paying ability of the company. So you want a good, strong, financially strong company and a great advisor who will carefully walk you through what it takes to get this coverage that works for you. Because what works for me might not be what you need, Julia, right? And so you need somebody who's going to walk you through that process.
No, and I know that this is such a complicated topic and we've just barely scraped the surface, but the whole idea of this is to plant those seeds, to get people thinking about it. I want all of us within the Keeping It Real Caregiving family to realize that if we age, which let's cross our fingers and hope we do, that we may enter these challenges. And as you said, something could happen long before we get older that maybe there's just, a medical situation that we need extra help. So again, if you have the means, think about it, carve out those funds. And Vickie, I'm going to share with everybody your information. And again, I'll stress to everybody, we're not doing a commercial here, but I want you to at least have a starting place that if you have questions, if you'd like more information, those of you who know me, I am a stickler for questions and I can be a trouble client. I ask every question under the sun, and Vickie can attest that I did that as well. And so I feel really comfortable knowing that I made a choice for myself, for my future. So this is all of your information. Anything that you'd like to share with folks as some parting thoughts?
A couple of things. We talk about the money that's involved, and yes, it is. There's a cost to it. But you want to know something? I think what you come away from this with, once you put a plan in place, is true peace of mind. There's that part of you that will know and understand if something happens, I've planned. I can be okay, and I will be okay. And so that's important. The second thing that I want to say is, Julia, I just love what you're doing. You've taken your own experience and found a way to reach out and give that experience and that information to other people, because people, as you already know this better than me, are experiencing these circumstances every day. And so this kind of information, what you're doing with Real Caregiver, I love it. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate all of the work that you've done and the patience with me. And folks, I can't stress enough. Do your homework, start thinking about it, read up, and just plant those seeds because it's real. So, Vickie, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate your time and your expertise, and hopefully, we can make sure that we educate that many more people out there. So, I
I
appreciate
love it.
you, and thank
Thank
you
you
for
so
today.
much, Julia. Absolutely.